Mr. Deakin, can you give us your opinion? Should the study be terminated? What do you think about this?
I agree with the fact that the cap shouldn't be there, because I also believe that we are in we shouldn't even be looking at this anymore as a transport issue. My recommendation would be starting to look at this through the lens of a health crisis, because people are genuinely suffering out there. This is no longer just a situation that can be solved with the machinery that we have with transportation, because it is evolving so fast. We've seen in 2.5 years, the only thing that came of that was a monopoly. I'm sorry to say, but that's really what happened. And that's not good for the consumer. And now we find ourselves in the exact same situation. The only difference is 2 wheels versus 4. And we're trying to implement the same ideas and expect a different result. That doesn't work. It really, if we've learned anything from that, is that we should evolve. Times are changing. Peoples are changing. The law should change too. It's there to serve the people, not the other way around. We always talk about progress, and I cannot blame also our board members over there, because we are talking about progress, but we're chained to the past with a law that was drafted in 1936, or at least passed in the Public Service Act that is under RA 4136. That could have not possibly predicted the situation that we're in today, which is the need for motorcycle taxis. If you're asking my personal opinion on behalf of the riding public who I consult with every day, do I think motorcycle taxis are a good idea? Absolutely not. I think it's an awful idea. I think the mere fact that we're discussing this as a viable alternative speaks more about the failure of an option to provide a safer option. But it's not about what I think. It's not about me. It's about what we need. And right now, we need this. This is why I would like to frame it as a health crisis. Because if we frame it as a health crisis, we could look at Angkas and the new players as some kind of alternative medicine until we get our act together. Because right now, it is filling a need. And it is actually alleviating suffering. That is why we really need to look at it with the urgency of a health crisis, because people are genuinely suffering out there. And when you talk to us about safety, we understand there is an issue of safety. But when somebody rides an Angkas, I don't think that's absolutely their first choice. No offense, George. It's just because if given a choice, we would all probably rather be in the back of a 4-wheeled air-conditioned vehicle. But if you ask the same person, would you rather ride the back of a 4-wheeled vehicle for 3 hours versus 45 minutes on the back of an Angkas, all of a sudden it changes. We now need to reevaluate our time and set it against safety. And we make that decision. We want to know who misses our family more. We're going to make that decision based on the time, where we need to be, how much we miss our family. This is why we cannot have other people decide that for us, because we're in a crisis. If you say it's not safe, well, you could also make the same argument about 2-minute noodles and sardines. Is that a great diet to have? No. But if we're in a state of calamity and we just fleed an evacuation center, I'll take that, thank you very much. Please don't tell me what I can and cannot put in my body, because I'm trying to survive. And that is what people out there are feeling. I'm sorry to have to be so blunt, but if we want to change, it starts here today. We need to start the change with the new bill that I believe that your office is trying to pass, which is trying to turn the Public Service Act around, because it needs to be dynamic. It needs to change. We don't need to be here pointing fingers left and right. We should be pointing forward, because that's where we all win. Pointing forward by having a law that keeps up with the times and understands that there is this need. Hopefully in 5-10 years' time, when there's a subway, we won't need this anymore. That's my dream, is that we don't have to ride motorcycles as taxis, but right now we're kidding ourselves if we think that we could regulate our way out of this mess. We cannot regulate our way out of traffic in the same way we cannot regulate people's suffering. The people are hurting out there and they have nothing left to lose, and this is why they're desperate. And this is why I'm taking this tone. I'm sorry if it offends anybody, but I'm taking this tone because we are desperate, we're hurting, and we're looking to our legislators now to ease that suffering for us, ease that pain. Please, it all starts with change. We need to do this now, and it starts by listening to us for a change, because change is the only way out of this mess. Change is going to open a brand new door, and the only question left is, do you believe that the Filipinos were changing for?
Thank you, Mr. Deakin. You have some very correct points. It's not necessarily the safest,
No.
but it is something that we need at this time, because we don't have, precisely in my opening, we need alternative modes at this juncture when even our MRTs are not fully operational at 100%. Our LRT is not also 100%, and we're still in the phase of groundbreaking for our subways. So, in
Madam
the
Chair, may I
meantime,
just add one last thing? If
Sure.
we think that we can, this is not happening already, the unregulated community, the habal-habal community, is growing at an exorbitant rate. This is happening. It's happening right now. And if you go to a habal-habal stand right now or a depot, you'll find that they're more organized than the people who are trying to actually organize them. Go over there and you'll see some Angkas riders in uniform taking rides. And that speaks volumes about the state of the industry, that they would rather go there because there's obviously more demand being fulfilled there and more money.
Again, they're more organized.
Well, the people, yes, the illegal sector are more organized than the people trying to legalize them. I'm sorry.
Okay. Quote of the day. All right. Mr. Deakin, go ahead, please.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. I think I'm not the only one who sees the irony here that while we're talking about safety here, it's the indecisiveness that's killing us. And traffic is a very serious thing that we should be declaring a war on. There should be of utmost concern. I think it's the greatest threat in the Philippine economy right now is traffic. We're literally grinding ourselves to a halt. And when you declare a war on something, you throw everything you've got at it. And our best weapon right now is tech. But yet we're being held back by rules of engagement written 80 years ago, and we're doing the equivalent of bows and arrows or sticks and stones when our enemy is nuclear. I'm just using these metaphors because traffic is so dynamic and it's moving at a pace that none of us can keep up with. If it's transport is some kind of a sacred space, I don't know why we are so beholden to a law that was written so many years ago, when even people like the banking sector, if you look at them, that's probably the stiffest bunch of people I know, no offense to bankers. I think they're great, but money we take more seriously than our safety. Yet these people found a way how to do things like e-payments. I'm sure that was a discussion. I'm sure there were problems there too. But I don't remember rallies on the streets. I don't remember hashtags saying save RCBC or something like that. We never went through Senate hearings and stuff. We just automatically one day woke up with e-payments. We could say the same thing about the telecoms industry. When Viber and WhatsApp came in, I'm sure that threatened their position. But for the greater good of the public, we somehow just made it happen. We made bigger things happen there. This is what we should be doing to the transport sector because traffic is a disease and we need to fight it. It's a man-made disease with man-made solutions, and those solutions, I believe, are resting right there in the bill that you're trying to pass.
Thank you, Mr. Deakin. Actually, you made quite a point there. If the agency, the bureau, the department is really bent on solving the problem, then they can take proactive steps because, in fact, there's a Department Order 2015-11 to promote mobility, which allows the DOTR to classify other modes of transportation if they really want it. But they want an ironclad thing, supposedly, either that or they're just prolonging the process. Fine, we are going to legislate just to clarify the situation. But again, thank you, and I think now we will proceed with Mr. Reyaka. You have a presentation, sir?